There was a century when Europe began to awaken, when nature and our faces were no longer backdrops, but subjects of inquiry. Leonardo da Vinci was fascinated by the long history of nature, by rock formations, by the raging elements. In his paintings, transparent mountain tops blur into the horizon. A road disappears behind rising ground. A river continues between hills toward a distant lake. To paint them, he was determined to understand their functioning. He observed. He analyzed. He compared. For Leonardo, the execution of a painting was a moment of truth. When darkness and light, body and color, distance and closeness, motion and the rest from their scientific balance. I was at the heart of the Renaissance century, in that union of force and poetry. And that's when I was first brought to life. Before I was Mona Lisa, I was only Lisa. I became a mystery on a wooden panel, a gaze suspended in time. But before the crowds, before the glass and the guards, before the world gave me a name, there was only us. A man, me, and years of quiet, relentless moments of work. He did not simply paint what he saw. He painted everything he knew, every question he ever asked himself. I was a synthesis, the place where math met mystery, where science met spirit. In the rooms ahead, you will walk inside my story. You will discover how I crossed time, survived theft, obsession, war, and worship, and how I arrived in your world. This is not a story of the past. It is a never-ending one. It is about what we choose to turn into myth. You've known my face your whole life, but you have never truly met me. So come closer. Look again. Really look me through. I followed him for years, once my portrait. I began as a commission, but I became his companion. I am Lisa Gardino, an old Florida woman, wife of a wealthy South Washington, Francesco Giacomo. I am 23 years old, and I had just given birth to my fifth child. I was considered beautiful, but what fascinated him was not only my face, it was my presence. For Leonardo, my portraits became both an artistic and scientific experiment. How does one depict life? By studying nature. By studying anatomy. Painting was a technical and artistic challenge. It was the last portrait he ever painted. To create me, he first had to perfect his oil painting technique. Progress was slow. He walked on me over many years, taking me wherever he went, all the way to France. As I said, I became his companion until the very end. Leonardo died in Amboise in 1590. He left me unfinished, yet always admired. King Francis I acquired me for a considerable sum. I became the centerpiece of the royal collection. In 1550, the first art historian, Giorgio Vasari, wrote of me, and this work was everything more divine than human to behold, and it was held to be something marvelous, since the reality was not more alive. And that was only the beginning of my story. What do you think this means? A masterpiece of portraiture. Before me, portraits kept their distance. They looked away. They wore the titles like armors. Indeed, in Renaissance Italy, portraits were often painted in profiles. They looked away. They were meant to represent, not to reveal. This was the fashion of the time. Rigorous, composed, almost immobile. But Leonardo, from this tradition too rigid, looked for something different. To the painters of the Northern Bloc, he studied how the flourish gave presence to their figures. They were painted in three view. He studied how they invited the viewers in. He studied how they placed figures within spaces that open into landscapes. Before leaving Rabbit, he asked me to sit, to turn, to look back, to follow. And he went further. He gave me balance, human emotions. I was painted life-sized. Cosmic movement. In every detail, I do appear alive. Hands that rest. The gaze that meets your own. And finally, he added my smile. A trace of personality. A suggestion of my emotion. I was a person. No longer a mere portrait. It became likeness of life. But this illusion was no magic. It was silence. Centuries later, it takes many lives to register. Historians, conservators, scientists, can imagine their original brightness by comparison, and I know the work of the recently restored Virgin and Child with St. Anna. Let's rewind just a little. Before the scientists, before the scalars and the sensors, I was already being studied. Not in laboratories, but in studios. In painting me, Leonardo sets new standards for portraiture. In his studio, and throughout the centuries, copies began to multiply. Some faithful, some less. Attempts to understand, attempts to recall, attempts to close. Through engraving, and later through photography, my ink spread. Even great artists return to me, not to imitate, but to understand. I became a passage, a challenge, something to learn from, something to master. Just a question. How can this be much done? So, get to my movement. To the smile I share with you, I drew inspiration from that exchange. But as time passed, the voyages became impossible. In the 20th century, across cultures, artists choose another path. They transformed me, mocked me sometimes, fragmented me. Yet, despite all this, I remained a quiet icon. Known, studied, admired, among artists and writers, but mostly among the world of art. I was a reference, not yet a figure. Then came the theft. These comparisons makes the heart profound. So what is it completely? It was a new day, 6:30, August 21st, 1911. moved my friend. And now, around everywhere.
真可爱的裙子。
Very quickly, the prison finds the room to seize the story. The museum closed. Questions multiplied. My name whispered like a spell. My face appeared in every newspaper, a stolen painting to a myth. A few hundred meters removed from Perugia lived in a small, poorly heated room. They kept me there, hidden, forced into silence. For 2 years, 3 months, and 2 days. Now it was in my absence that I became truly present. December 9, 1913. Perugia made a decision. He would take me to Italy. We contacted the 1910, offered to carry, offered to sell. In his entire, the dealer just too practical with what he was seeing. He contacted the police. We had the same evening. The censor Perugia was arrested. But his appearances traveled further away than his. Thieves captivated the world press, and in doing so, it changed my fate. I was no longer alone. I was recognized, seen, everywhere by everybody now. So it's been 44 when I returned to France. Perugia was sentenced to 2 years in prison. After serving his time, he was dismissed. He argued the bench. And now, I was no longer just a painting. I became that figure. I was once a quiet portrait in a Florentine studio. Then, one of many friends at the Louvre. Then, a scandal. And now I'm everywhere. For many contemporary creators, the legend lives on. They return to me. They repeat me. They transform me. I left the frame and moved onto walls, onto streets. I now appear from any substance. On paper, on fabric, I became a stamp, a mug, a t-shirt, a tattoo, a filter, a millions of me. Scrolling, spinning, smiling. I am copied. I am shed. I am reinvented. Once, artists studied me to understand painting. And now, I am used to speak about the world. From Florence to Tokyo, from Paris to Ukraine, from one culture to another, I am a language now. A symbol. I no longer belong to one single place. I belong to humanity. You see me, and I see you. Until we meet again. Until then, goodbye.
이 는 진짜